I'm Brenda Kensington Walsh, president of the Pinnacle Ridge Homeowners Association. That truck is in violation of community standards and must be removed immediately. This mountain has expectations.
What mountain is that exactly?
This community. 847 families depend on proper standards being maintained.
$381 million was sitting on land my family has owned since 1952. The HOA president had been living like a queen off stolen lease. Payments for 15 years, while my grandfather died thinking we had lost everything. The day she walked up to my truck and told me to remove my trashy vehicle from her mountain, she was standing on land that belonged to me. Comment below which country you are watching from. I drove 12 hours from Ohio 3 days after my grandfather Ezra passed away. Mechanic with calloused hands behind on rent and expecting to sell a small cabin to cover funeral costs. What I found instead was a 1952 surveyor agreement buried in his hidden safe, and one clause that changed everything. Brenda Kensington Walsh arrived at my door in designer heels with a clipboard and a fake British accent the morning after I arrived. HOA president of Pinnacle Ridge. 847 McMansions spread across my family's 1,300 acres. She handed me a violation notice about my truck and told me the community had standards. What she did not know was that every single house in that subdivision was sitting on land my grandfather had purchased in 1952. A property management company had been collecting $12,000 monthly in lease payments that should have been coming to my family for 15 years. Nobody had ever paid us a cent. That evening, I drove to the county library and found something that made my hands shake. Starting in 2005, the assessed value of my land had been dropped from $2.8 million to $180,000. Dennis Walsh, county assessor, and Brenda's husband had been signing off on the fraudulent assessments every year. Next morning, police showed up at 6 in the morning with a restraining order. Brenda had filed harassment claims. Dennis had told the deputies there was an ownership dispute and that he knew the real situation. My lawyer, Janet Torres, filed a quiet title lawsuit within 48 hours, forcing everyone to prove their claims in court with actual documentation. Then I found the safe, behind a false panel in grandfather's bedroom, the original 1952 contract, the real lease agreements, and a 99-year land lease that had quietly expired in 2020. Most importantly, the reversion clause. All improvements revert to the landowner if lease payments are interrupted for more than 60 consecutive days. Since no legitimate payments had been made since 2005, every house in Pinnacle Ridge legally belonged to me. $381 million in real estate. Janet confirmed it. Under Colorado law, improvements constructed on leased land during systematic lease violations become the property of the landowner. Brenda had also been producing forged documents. A fake 1955 agreement transferring development rights to the HOA. My mechanic's eye caught the problem immediately. A 1955 document referencing zip codes that were not invented until 1963. FBI Special Agent Kim confirmed the document was forgery and that Brenda had run identical schemes in Grand Junction and Durango under different names, multiple aliases, years of targeting elderly landowners. The night I found the safe, Brenda sent a crew to damage my foundation at 2 in the morning, trying to make it look like a gas line, emergency to render the property uninhabitable. They also cut my communication lines. I used grandfather's emergency radio to reach help. She was arrested trying to board a flight to Costa Rica with $847,000 in HOA funds. Exactly $1,000 per household. At the town hall meeting, I presented 15 years of documented evidence and offered every family the chance to purchase their lot at $50,000 with a 10-year payment plan at 3% interest. Most families would pay less monthly than they had been paying in combined mortgage HOA fees and Brenda's illegal security surcharges. When Brenda burst through the back doors of the community center during my presentation and screamed that I was lying, FBI Agent Kim stepped forward and arrested her in front of 300 neighbors and every local news camera in the county. The applause started with Margaret Flynn and spread through the entire room. Brenda received an 18-month federal sentence and $2.3 million in restitution. Dennis got 6 months and a permanent ban from government work. 847 families signed purchase agreements. The HOA fees dropped 60% under the new board. I used the settlement money to establish the Ezra Brennan Memorial Scholarship and converted 400 acres into a permanent conservation preserve. My grandfather wrote in his final journal entry that someday someone would make this right. Drop a like if this story hit different, and tell me in the comments what you would have done the morning you open that safe and read that reversion clause.